I think the interview was probably the best part for me because I got to go out into the country with my mom and tour an apiary, and it was very exciting to see the various history of how the man-made hives evolved kind of over the years. Besides stressing me out to no end, I feel like this project really got me out of my comfort zone, especially with doing the interview and sending emails and calling strangers and stuff like that, because I'm a very anxious person who doesn't really like to talk to strangers, especially over the phone. So definitely got me out of my comfort zone, and now I think it'll be easier for me to do these things in the future. Brianna Marie Huntley, aka Fred. My project is about the negative effects of pesticides on honeybees and raising awareness about that.
I was the kid who cried every time someone squished an insect. I spent my summers in elementary school and middle school at a Girl Scout camp, where I learned that unfortunately girls ages 6 through 12 typically don't share the same love of insects that I do. So for my 20% project, I thought about this, and I thought, well, honeybees were seen as the royal symbol in ancient Egypt for almost 3,000 years. And they're probably one of the most important insects to our entire civilization. So I decided to talk about a certain threat to honeybees that I see as the most detrimental thing, because it's definitely human-based and it's something that we can do something about. That threat is pesticides. Now, you may have read things about bees dying and colony collapse disorder and pesticides maybe being a cause, but evidence is starting to point to pesticides being the main cause. And this isn't just found in clinical studies either. The beekeeper that I interviewed, Jean-Claude Tasseau from Tasseau Apiaries in Milford, New Jersey, talked about his experience with keeping bees close to a golf course as opposed to close to just out in the country. So what he did is he realized that his bee die-offs were much greater, like the rate at which the bees were dying was much greater when he kept them near a golf course. And think about a golf course. It's green, it's pretty, it's got gardens, and it's kept that way in part by pesticides. So what do pesticides do to bees? Well, they act as a neurotoxin, which affects her brain, the worker bee, and it makes it hard for her to navigate back to the nest or back to other food sources. So she ends up just dying out in whatever field she's in. And this has become definitely a problem, and that's what all of this nonsense about vanishing bees is about. So why should we care about honeybees? Well, honeybees are pollinators, and without them, you'd walk into a grocery store, and as opposed to seeing all of these delicious fruits and vegetables, you just see mainly peas, beans, and corn. And you can't really make an apple pie with that. So they're pretty important. Throughout this project, I hit a couple snags and pitfalls. For instance, I didn't get my interview until last week. And I lost sight of the big picture, you know? This project has so many small things that go with it. I got distracted by not having an interview and ended up completely withdrawing and detracting and not being able to really get myself back on track. So I worked with my teacher and I got back on track with everything, and now I'm able to present here. And I also lost sight of the product that I was going to have at the end. I had originally planned to talk Mrs. Newman into getting a beehive for the roof of the school. And then I realized, well, she's leaving this year, and they're planning on doing an addition within the next couple of years, and bees don't really like construction. So I decided on doing a presentation for my biology class. What I want you all to take away from this presentation is next time you see a honeybee, don't think, oh no, she's going to sting me, I've got to kill it. Think, wow, she's collecting pollen to go back and make some delicious honey that I may eat one day. Without her, we wouldn't have nearly as much produce as we currently have. And without her, the world would be gray. We wouldn't have trees and flowers and grass. And plant a garden if you have the space for it at home, but don't use any pesticides, of course. Thank you. Questions? Back there?
I have a question about man-made hives. Did you learn, like, do the bees like them? Did you find out, are they?
They're pretty indifferent, you know. It's the way bees kind of think is they see a space, they'll fill it with comb. And so it's pretty much, they don't even notice a difference. They're just like, here's a crevice, here I will build my comb, you know. Anything else? Yes.
I don't know if you saw the story last week that there was a swarm of honeybees in Jersey City, more than I've seen for a long time, that went into a guy's hood scoop on his Mustang, and there were all these little bees going around. They called, I was afraid they were going to do something awful to them, but they didn't. They called an urban beekeeper who came and picked them all up and put them in a hive and took them someplace else in Jersey City. So it's nice to know that there are a few swarms left.
Yes.
What did you find about the situation locally? Are we as much in trouble as everybody else?
Well, I didn't really focus on locally. I focused more on nationally and just like within the United States as well. So I'm not exactly sure, but with more awareness and whatnot about pesticides, more people have been more controlling of it, and it's actually, the rate of bee death per year has actually decreased in recent years, but it's still not a very good level. Mr. So.
Fred, I think in class one day you were talking about that places like Home Depot and maybe Lowe's.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you discovered about what they're doing, like in their garden centers and stuff?
Yeah, in Home Depot and Lowe's, they're working to completely phase out, but they're kind of dragging their feet with that, certain pesticides, for instance, neonicotinoids, which have been linked to decreasing honeybee populations, and they're also working more towards labeling them. So if you see something labeled like neonicotinoid pesticides used, don't purchase that plant.
Are there also labels that would suggest that something's more user-friendly, but maybe it's not? Or
not exactly. There are some like misnomers, such as horticultural oils or insecticidal soaps that sound like, and like organic pesticides that sound like they'd be fine because it's from nature, but arsenic is also from nature, so yeah, it's pretty much like that. Any other questions? Oh.
I have two questions. When you did the research, I read a few years ago about a big bee problem in China, where people actually had to go and use ladders and do the pollinating themselves because they didn't have enough bees for apple or pear trees. I can't remember what it was. Did you hear anything about the China situation? The second question is, have you come across any viral or parasite problems that bees have?
All right. There are still places in China that have to pollinate their flowers, but it's mainly because the air is so bad. Pretty much people are barely able to breathe there. That's why they have to wear masks and things. And there are parasitic and viral threats to honeybees as well. But typically within a hive, a commercial beekeeper can treat those with medications and other sort of treatments.
Right. So after doing all your research, do you feel hopeful that we're going to do something significant that's really going to save them?
I think so. I mean, I guess in our more open East Coast sort of area where there's more like Whole Foods and things like that, I know a lot more people are very aware of this threat, and I just hope that the awareness spreads and it's phased out in more places. And in fact, in a couple European countries, it's actually illegal to use certain pesticides because of the bee populations and effects. So it's hopeful. Anything else? Wait, is that a question?
If you change your mind to have a beehive on our roof, can donate my beehives. I leased for 3 years. For some other reasons, I stopped.
There you go, Frank.
All right.